All right, let's dive into something pretty fascinating today.
Yeah.
We're going to be looking at how the Baha'i Faith views the concept of the return of spiritual figures.
Interesting.
And from what I've been reading in these Baha'i writings, it's not what you might think.
Okay.
They have this really unique take on prophecies in world religions,
Okay.
suggesting that return isn't really about like a literal comeback,
Right.
but something much deeper.
I see.
So,
Well, what's really interesting is that the Baha'i Faith kind of interprets this concept of return through the lens of progressive revelation.
now I've heard that term before.
Have you come across that idea?
Yeah, but I'm a little fuzzy on the details. Like,
Right. Well, it suggests...
does it have something to do with how God's message unfolds over time?
Exactly.
Okay.
The Baha'i teachings, they suggest that God reveals his message to humanity gradually through a series of divine messengers,
I see.
or what they call manifestations.
Uh-huh.
So think about figures like Abraham,
Right.
Krishna, Buddha, Jesus, Muhammad.
I'm with you.
Each one is kind of building upon
Right.
the revelations that came before
Okay.
and bringing a message that's tailored to the specific needs and capacity of humanity at that time.
So it's almost like God is constantly updating the message
Yeah.
to keep pace with how we evolve.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
It's an ongoing conversation, a dynamic process of revelation,
Right.
rather than like a static set of doctrines.
Okay.
And within this framework,
Yeah.
the Baha'i Faith views Bahá'u'lláh, their founder,
Okay.
as the most recent manifestation, fulfilling the essence of prophecies
Yeah.
across all these different religions.
Okay.
Not by physically returning,
Right.
but by advancing that message for our current era.
That's starting to make more sense now, but it also raises a lot of questions. Like, how do Baha'is reconcile this with the very specific expectations that exist within various religions about the return of their promised ones? Take the Jewish Messiah, for example.
Okay.
Wouldn't most Jews expect a literal descendant of King David to return and restore Israel?
You've hit on a really crucial point.
Okay.
And this is where the Baha'i concept of spiritual fulfillment comes into play.
Okay.
So rather than negating or replacing those traditional beliefs, they see Baha'u'lláh as fulfilling the core message, the universal values embedded within those prophecies.
Yeah.
So while the outward form might differ,
Right.
the underlying purpose, in
Yeah.
this case, the establishment of justice,
Right.
unity, and peace,
Yeah.
that's what's being fulfilled.
So it's about looking beyond the literal interpretations to find the deeper spiritual meaning.
Exactly.
It reminds me of how some people interpret biblical prophecies metaphorically rather than literally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about shifting our focus
Okay.
from the how
Right.
to the why of the prophecy.
I see.
And when we look at it from that perspective,
Yeah.
we can see how Baha'u'llah's teachings,
Right.
with their emphasis on global unity, the oneness of humanity,
Yeah.
and the elimination of prejudice, really resonate deeply
Okay.
with the core aspirations found in prophecies across various faiths.
That's a pretty bold claim to make.
It is.
I'm sure it raises eyebrows
Yeah.
for people who are firmly rooted in their own religious traditions.
Absolutely.
But before we jump into how different religions view the concept of return,
Okay.
let's dive into Baha'u'llah's own words for a second.
Sure.
You mentioned a key text called the Kitáb-i-Íqán.
Yes. The Book of Certitude.
Okay.
It's considered one of the foundational works of the Baha'i Faith.
Right.
And in it, Baha'u'lláh goes to great lengths to explain this whole idea of spiritual return.
Okay.
In fact, there's a passage where he directly addresses those who cling to those literal interpretations,
Right.
arguing that they miss the true meaning
Okay.
because of their rigid expectations.
Do you have that quote handy?
I do.
I'm really curious to hear how he frames this
Okay.
this critique.
So here's what Baha'u'lláh writes in the Kitáb-i-Íqán.
Okay.
Consider the past. How many awaited the coming of the manifestations of holiness
Yeah.
in the sanctified persons of the prophets of God.
Right.
Yet, when the portals of grace did open and the clouds of divine bounty did rain upon mankind,
Okay.
they turned away from his face.
Wow, he's not pulling any punches there.
No.
It seems like he's directly challenging people to re-examine their assumption
Yeah.
about how God works and how divine revelation unfolds.
He's definitely calling for a deeper understanding.
Right.
A shift from a purely material, or literal viewpoint to a more spiritual one. And this is central to how the Baha'i Faith interprets these prophecies across religions.
I see.
They see this tendency to cling to rigid interpretations
Yeah.
as a barrier to recognizing the truth when it manifests in a new form.
So essentially he's saying, don't get so fixated on the specifics that you miss the bigger picture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this brings us back to that idea of progressive revelation.
Right.
The understanding that truth unfolds over time.
Right.
And each manifestation builds upon the foundation laid by those who came before.
Okay, so we've laid the groundwork here for understanding the Baha'i perspective on return as this spiritual evolution of truth.
Okay.
But I'm eager to get into the specifics.
Okay.
You mentioned that there are connections to prophecies in Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Zoroastrianism, Hinduism, and Buddhism.
Right.
Where should we start?
Let's begin with Judaism.
Okay.
The concept of the Messiah.
Right.
It's central to Jewish belief.
Yeah.
And Baha'is see a strong connection between Bahá'u'lláh and the fulfillment of this messianic hope.
Okay.
Interestingly, Baha'u'lláh even adopted titles like Lord of Hosts and King of Glory, which are directly linked to Jewish messianic expectations.
Okay.
What's fascinating here is...
So I'm trying to wrap my head around this idea of Baha'u'lláh fulfilling Jewish messianic prophecies.
Right.
But in this spiritual way.
Yeah.
What does that actually mean in practical terms?
That's a great question.
Like, it leads us to...
It's one thing to talk about universal values and spiritual meanings.
Yeah.
But how does that translate into real-world action?
Well, that leads us to one of the most fundamental principles of the Baha'i Faith.
Okay.
The oneness of humanity.
Okay.
And this isn't just some abstract philosophical concept.
Right.
It's the cornerstone of their whole worldview. Baha'is believe that we are all interconnected, regardless of race, religion, nationality, gender.
Any other social category.
So it's taking that idea of like universal brotherhood, which exists in so many spiritual traditions, and actually putting it into practice.
Precisely.
Right.
The Baha'i Faith sees the oneness of humanity as a call to action.
Okay.
It means working to dismantle systems of oppression.
Okay.
Challenging prejudice and discrimination wherever they exist. And building a society where everybody has equal opportunities.
That's a pretty ambitious goal.
It is.
Especially in today's world, which often feels more divided than ever.
Absolutely.
So how do Baha'is even begin to approach such a monumental task?
It starts with individual transformation.
Okay.
Baha'is believe that social change can only be achieved through a parallel process of spiritual growth.
I see.
They emphasize the importance of developing virtues like love, compassion, justice, trustworthiness, qualities that are essential for creating a unified and peaceful society.
So it's about cultivating those positive qualities within ourselves as a foundation for building a better world.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Baha'u'lláh often emphasized the importance of inner transformation as a prerequisite for outer change.
Right.
He said, man is the supreme talisman.
Okay.
Lack of a proper education hath, however, deprived him of that which he doth inherently possess.
Wow. So in other words, we have the potential for greatness within us.
Yes.
But we need to cultivate it through education and spiritual development.
Yes.
That quote really resonates with me.
Good.
It makes me think about how often we focus on changing external circumstances without addressing the underlying issues within ourselves.
That's such an important point.
Right.
And it's something that the Baha'i Faith addresses directly.
Okay.
They have a really strong emphasis on education, both spiritual and material.
Right.
They believe that education is essential for empowering individuals and creating a more just and prosperous society.
Okay, so education is key.
Yes.
But what about concrete actions?
Sure.
What are some things that Baha'is do collectively to promote unity and peace?
One of the key practices is community building.
Okay.
Baha'is place a strong emphasis on coming together in local communities to study their sacred writings, engage in service projects, and support each other in their spiritual journeys.
So it's about creating these microcosms of unity and harmony at the grassroots level.
Precisely. These local communities serve as training grounds for putting those Baha'i principles into practice.
Right.
They strive to create spaces where diversity is celebrated,
No.
Collaboration is encouraged.
Uh-huh.
And decision-making is based on consultation and consensus.
I imagine that's not always easy,
Yeah.
especially when dealing with differences of opinion or perspective.
Sure.
How do Baha'is approach conflict resolution within their communities?
Good. Another core principle of the Baha'i Faith is the independent investigation of truth. They believe that each individual has the capacity
Okay.
and responsibility
Yeah.
to search for truth independently,
Okay.
rather than blindly following dogma or tradition.
I see.
So this fosters an environment of open-mindedness
Right.
and encourages respectful dialogue, even when there are disagreements.
Wait, so does that mean that Baha'is don't believe in following any set doctrines or rules?
It's not that they don't have teachings or laws.
Okay.
The Baha'i Faith has its own sacred texts, principles, and guidelines.
Right.
But the emphasis is on understanding the reasoning behind them, not just blindly obeying them.
I see.
They encourage critical thinking
Okay.
and the use of logic and reason when approaching spiritual matters.
That's pretty refreshing, actually.
Yeah,
It seems like it would create space for personal growth and interpretation,
it does.
which I imagine is crucial for fostering unity,
Absolutely.
especially within diverse communities.
You've hit the nail on the head.
Okay.
The Baha'i Faith believes that unity doesn't mean uniformity.
Right.
It's about embracing diversity
Okay.
while recognizing our shared humanity. They see the world as a beautiful garden
Okay.
filled with flowers of every color and shape,
Yeah.
each one contributing to the overall beauty.
I love that analogy.
Good.
It perfectly captures the spirit of inclusivity
Yes.
that seems to be at the heart of the Baha'i Faith.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this spirit of inclusivity extends to their social justice work as well.
Okay.
The Baha'i teachings call for the elimination of all forms of prejudice and discrimination,
Right.
and they have been actively involved in promoting the equality of women and men, advocating for racial justice, and addressing issues like poverty and economic inequality.
It sounds like they're tackling a pretty wide range of social issues.
They are.
Are there any particular areas where they've made significant contributions?
One area that stands out is the advancement of women. Baha'u'lláh, over a century ago, taught that women and men are equal in the sight of God and should have equal rights and opportunities.
Wow.
This was a radical concept at the time,
Yeah.
and it continues to be a central focus of their social action efforts today.
Right.
They've established schools and educational programs around the world, specifically aimed at empowering women and girls.
Okay.
And they actively advocate for policies
Right.
that promote gender equality.
It's inspiring.
Yeah.
It's amazing how they were ahead of their time on that issue.
Yes.
What about their work in other areas of social justice?
The Baha'i approach is very much about collaboration.
Okay.
They believe in working with other like-minded individuals and organizations to create positive change.
I see.
They see the importance of pooling resources and expertise,
Right.
recognizing that complex social problems require multifaceted solutions.
Yeah.
They don't claim to have all the answers,
Okay.
but they're committed to being part of the solution.
That's a really refreshing approach.
It is.
It's not about imposing their views on others. It's
Yeah.
about working together
Right.
to find common ground and create a better future for everyone.
Oh, exactly.
Yep.
And it's this collaborative spirit,
Right.
this unwavering belief in the power of unity and collective action that fuels their vision for the future.
Speaking of the future,
Yes.
you mentioned earlier that the Baha'i Faith has this unique perspective on it.
Yeah.
Do they have their own set of prophecies or predictions about what lies ahead?
That's a question for our final part.
Okay.
We'll explore the Baha'i vision for the future of humanity,
Okay.
a vision that's both challenging and incredibly hopeful.
All right.
Stay with us.
All right. So we've explored how the Baha'i Faith sees return as this spiritual evolution and how
Right.
they're actually putting those beliefs into action.
Uh-huh.
But what about their outlook on the future?
Yeah.
Do they have any specific prophecies or predictions?
It's not so much about predicting
Okay.
specific events or timelines.
Right.
It's more about focusing on the direction of human progress
Right.
and the principles that are going to shape a better future. They see humanity moving towards greater unity,
Okay.
believing it's not just possible,
Yeah.
but essential for our survival as a species.
That's an optimistic outlook.
Yeah.
Especially given how divided the world feels right now.
It is.
So what does this unified future actually look like in their vision?
Well, a central aspect is world peace.
Okay.
I know it sounds utopian,
Right.
but Baha'is believe that lasting peace isn't just a dream. It's a necessity.
It's a beautiful vision.
It is.
But how do they propose we get from like this conflict-ridden present to a peaceful future?
That's the question.
That seems like a massive leap.
It's a huge shift.
Yeah.
But they see it happening through this kind of social and spiritual evolution.
Okay.
This means tackling the root causes of conflict. Things like prejudice,
Okay.
inequality,
Right.
the pursuit of power and wealth
Yeah.
at the expense of others.
So it's about addressing those systemic issues we were talking about earlier?
Exactly.
But on a global scale.
On a global scale,
Right.
the Baha'i teachings advocate for a world governing body to address issues like poverty,
Okay.
environmental damage, international disputes
Right.
in a just and fair way.
So this isn't about one nation dominating others?
No.
Okay.
It's a system of collective security and cooperation.
Right.
Where each nation contributes to the well-being of all.
A world government.
Yes.
That's a bold idea.
It is.
What about other aspects of life?
Sure.
How would economics and culture and religion change in this unified future?
Well, the Baha'i vision emphasizes both material and spiritual progress.
Okay.
So they envision an economic system that's just and equitable.
Right.
Ensuring everyone has the resources to live a dignified life. They see science and technology as vital tools for solving problems.
Okay.
But not at the expense of ethical considerations.
So progress and development are crucial.
Yes.
But not if they come at the cost of justice and sustainability.
Exactly. It's about balance.
Okay.
Meeting the needs of today without jeopardizing future generations.
Right.
Think of it as a global society that prioritizes harmony with nature
Okay.
alongside technological advancement.
What about culture?
Yeah.
Would this future be like one single homogenous world culture?
No, not at all.
Okay.
The Bahá'í Faith celebrates cultural diversity. They see those unique expressions of different peoples as enriching.
Right.
It's about appreciating those differences
Okay.
while recognizing our shared humanity.
Right.
Imagine a global tapestry woven from threads of countless cultures,
Yeah.
each one contributing its unique beauty.
That's a much more appealing picture.
Right.
So what about religion? Would there be a single world religion in this unified future?
Well, the Baha'i teachings emphasize the oneness of religion, viewing the major faiths as chapters in a single unfolding story of revelation.
I see.
They believe these religions share core spiritual values.
Right.
And that focusing on these commonalities can help overcome the divisions that lead to conflict and intolerance.
So it's not about converting everyone to the Baha'i Faith.
No, it's about fostering understanding and respect between different religious communities.
Okay.
It's this interfaith harmony that they believe is crucial for building a truly just and unified world.
This is an incredibly expansive and hopeful vision.
Yeah.
But is it realistic?
That's the key question.
Right. Like, do Baha'is genuinely believe that such a profound transformation is possible?
That's the key, isn't it?
Right.
It's belief. They acknowledge the challenges ahead, but they hold firm to the conviction that this vision isn't just a dream, but an emerging reality. They see signs of progress everywhere. In the growing global awareness, the rise of social justice movements, and the increasing interest in interfaith dialogue.
So it's about choosing to focus on those seeds of unity,
Yeah.
those positive developments,
Absolutely.
even amidst all the chaos and division we see in the world.
That's the key.
Okay.
It's about each of us taking responsibility
Right.
and contributing to this transformation.
Yeah.
However we can.
Right.
Whether it's through everyday acts of kindness, working for change in our communities,
Yeah.
or simply spreading a message of hope and unity.
Right.
Every effort counts.
That's a really powerful and inspiring message.
It is.
The Baha'i Faith offers a perspective that's both challenging
Absolutely.
and deeply hopeful.
Yeah.
It asks us to face the world's complexities, but also hold on to a vision of a brighter future that we can all play a part in creating.
That we can all be a part of.
This has been a fascinating deep dive.
It has.
And for all you deep divers out there,
right,
keep those minds curious and those hearts open.
Absolutely.
To all the incredible possibilities that lie ahead.
Wonderful.
Until next time, when